What's up, family? Welcome back to the All In Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Jenkins. And today, I just wanted to let you know that you're a good man. You are a good man. And if you are a brother right now that knows that you're struggling, or you're messed up, or you're constantly trying to get things right, you are a good man. If you're a man that in this moment knows I'm not a good man, like I'm actually a bad man, I'm not in a good place right now because of what I'm doing, how I'm acting. Let me tell you something right now. Deep down inside of you, there is a good man deep down inside of you, and he's waiting to rise to the occasion. He's waiting deep down on the inside of you at this moment while you're not in that good place. I'm not talking about a person that has messed up or made mistakes or just constantly trying to get back, but that person that deep down knows inside, man, I'm not a good man right now. I'm not making good choices. I'm not being a good person. I'm not doing the things that will make me a good man. There's a good man deep down on the inside of you that is ready and waiting to come out. And the fact that you're hearing this right now can ignite and spark a moment for that good man to begin to come out. I even had a moment yesterday, where someone had to remind me to not be so hard on myself. And it just kind of made me reflect, right? This was a word from God to not be hard on myself. And I started thinking like, man, am I really hard on myself? Like, what have I been saying? What have I been doing? Like, what areas or what thoughts or what concepts have me in a place where, like, I'm thinking that this hardness on myself is what I need. And it really put me into a moment of reflection. And I think for us as men, two things that are important for us to really work through these issues, right? Community and kind of like the doghouse mentality. I'm going to break that down and explain that. But before I explain that, I want you to know that second chances are real. You have another shot to be better. Take the second chance. Don't allow yourself to be convinced that it's over. There's no more for you. You've made bad decisions. It's over. It's done. You have a second chance at life. Do not throw it away. Do not convince yourself that you don't or it's over. You have a second chance. Take the second chance. Convince yourself to take the second chance. I don't have anything better to do. I'm going to try again. I don't know where else I'm going to go. I'm going to try again. I don't know how to become a better man. That's why we're here. But instead of try again, I'm going to try. And like we spoke about, it's not linear. You will mess up. You will make mistakes. You will do things and see things that remind you of who you don't want to be. But you have to be resilient and press forward. The Lord says that my strength is made perfect in your weakness. So as a man, there are certain things that we are called to carry, because I know a lot of men feel like I'm carrying this stuff, but it's so heavy. On one side, there are things that we chose to carry, some things that are societal norms and all of these things that we shouldn't even be carrying. But because we feel like we should or have been told we should, we're carrying it. But then there's the other side where the Lord has called us to carry certain things, but it's heavy because it feels unbearable. It feels like too much. It feels like you can never amount up to all the things and responsibilities that you have, like being a leader of your family. There's strength that God wants to give to you. And there are moments when you get weak, but the Lord wants to strengthen you, but you have to call on him and ask him for strength. You have to say, God, I need your help right now. I need you to lead me down the path of righteousness. I need you to lead me not only as my God, but my Father. I have my earthly father, but I need my father, my spiritual father, the one who has created heaven and earth to lead me and help me. And so take that second chance. If you don't remember anything else, take that second chance. It doesn't matter what your family says, your friends say, an old girlfriend, an ex, whoever. Don't allow somebody to keep you in a box when you can grow, because surely they can grow. So you can grow too. And it's easy for somebody to look at you a certain way or say certain things about you and make you feel small or as if you can't grow. But yet, a lot of times it's easy for people to speak down on people because there are some things that they have hidden that nobody knows about. There are certain things that they feel guilt or shame about, but you don't know about them or other people don't know about them. So nobody can bring them up. But a lot of people don't do enough self-reflection to realize, like, hey, I've made mistakes too. I've messed up too. I can't keep you there because I wouldn't want anybody to hold me back from where I'm trying to go in life. And so one aspect is community. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to have a whole episode dedicated to this. But I believe, and I know it's important that men have better community. Why? Because why can women be more resilient in certain things? Because they have support. They support one another. They show empathy towards one another. Even when they mess up, they say, what? You got this, girl. Keep going, girl. You doing your thing, girl. Keep smiling, girl. You know, all of these different things. And however they encourage each other, you know, you that one, right? However the ladies do it, right? But I think for men, it's not to say that we have to be women or act like women, but more we have to be together as men and have camaraderie as men, the way men do things, right? So it's not to say that as men, we need to be like women would be all the time. Like women would discuss feelings and maybe cry. And it's not to say that that's all women do, but that's usually all we kind of see or think about as women. But we need to encourage one another. We need to pray for one another. We need to listen to one another and show empathy to one another. But we also need to be transparent before one another. We might not share every single detail of our life, but what if another brother has advice or wisdom? Or another brother can pray for you in a certain area to help you move past things or grow in a certain way that you want to grow. But a lot of times we choose to die silently because we would rather seem strong always rather than another man know what I'm going through or what's happening in my life. But you have no idea how much strength comes from doing those things. A lot of times we think the strong thing is to seem strong and to stay away from seeming like I need help. But the things that a strong person does are often the hardest things to do. The hard thing is for you to share something, to talk about it. The easy thing is to keep it bottled up and not talk about it, not tell anybody about it. Zip, I'm going to keep my pride. I'm going to keep my ego intact. Ain't nobody going to know about this. But guess what? At the end of the day, you're not always going to be in that position. You can move forward. You can grow and be a better man. Or things, it might not even have anything to do with how you feel about yourself as a man. Just you getting past a hump. And so we need community because it's important that we grow and evolve. But we grow and evolve even more when we have the right people around us, right? And so I think a big key to this too is also emotional awareness. Like we need to learn our emotions. We need to learn awareness. We need to have understanding of who we are, and just certain how our own minds and bodies react to certain emotions and different things, and how we shame and guilt ourselves at times, even when nobody else might, because we know as men sometimes that we do that. And another thing that I said was the doghouse mentality, right? So, you know, you might have seen this on TV when, the wife throws the husband out the house for the day, or have him sleep on the couch, or she's mad at him and she's pouting, and the man feels guilty or shameful because he forgot an anniversary or a birthday or something, or, he hurt her feelings. And a lot of times as men, we see ourselves as not a good man because we've hurt feelings. We disappointed our family, our wives, our daughters, our kids, and we feel like, man, I'm not a good man. I messed up. I could have done better here. My wife is mad at me, and I hurt her feelings, and I've done this bad and that bad, and I've said things or done things to my mother or my sister or old girlfriend. And especially when it comes to women, because we know that women are more gentle, fragile people, not in a state of saying like weak, right? But just saying like us as men, we tend to be more on the rough side, and women tend to be more on the side of having more emotional capacity, understanding their emotions, more delicate, more just inclined to expressing emotions, because, in the world, women have space for that and men tended not to. And so it really hurts us because we were always taught about a woman's feelings and her emotions and things like that. And we've always respected that. So when we, especially coming from a background where you grew up in a house with your mother or your grandmother or your aunt, and they took care of you, they fed you and all of these things. And it's like, that's who you respect, grandma, auntie, or mama. And so even when you may have not always done the wrong thing, it's important that you're emotionally aware, because sometimes you can be guilted or shamed for something that wasn't necessarily your fault or necessarily wrong. It might just be something they see as wrong or felt was wrong, right? But a lot of times we're taught to respect those emotions. And so we put ourselves in the doghouse mentally. Man, I'm not a good man. I did this, I messed up. Like, I don't, how do I redeem myself? Like, I don't think I'm a good man, because if you know what my wife has said, if you know how I put my family in jeopardy one time, or I just messed up the finances or done these things, like, how could I ever amount to something? And I want you to remind yourself, you are a good man, because you are, and a second chance is available. See, in life, you don't come out unscathed. You don't always get it right every time, no matter how smart, no matter how wise. Life, the Bible says that life happens to us all. With the right investments, the right choice, even sometimes things happen. But perseverance and dag, why did that S word leave me? Perseverance, and I can't think of it, but you know what I'm trying to say. Perseverance, and it's over. I try my best. But, a lot of times we focus on like, what good could come out of me now? How could I be better now? Like, I've already shown them that I'm not worth anything, or that I've messed up. But that's not true, especially when God is a God of redemption, right? So this number one thing I want you to know when you think about this: you are not defined by your mistakes, your mess ups, your hang ups, your challenges. You are not defined by that. You are not. And oftentimes your growth starts from that place of rock bottom or messing up, because you've got so low to the point where, like, man, I'm in a dark place. Something has to change. I want to start doing this and I want to stop doing that. And right. And sometimes some of us aren't in a dark place. It's just you've made mistakes and you think that you as a man are a result of your mistakes. They do not define you. At a moment, something can describe you but not define you. In that moment, man, I wasn't exactly honest. Oh man, in that moment, that wasn't nice. I wasn't kind. In that moment, I wasn't gentle enough. I wasn't patient. But that doesn't describe you. What more describes you is your consistency of character, right? Yeah, you tell the truth. You're a man of truth. But man, I wasn't that honest right there. I messed up. I got to do better. That's not me. Man, I wasn't very patient in this moment, but I'm usually a patient person. I don't get it right every time, but at that moment, I was not patient. And so we have to understand that in moments, you can be described as, man, you wasn't quite here, but the consistency of character, that's what really matters. And so I think it's very important because something big for me that helped me remember or just putting myself in a place of being able to move forward is, number one, that a lot of times I thought God was mad at me when God wasn't. Like, I was like, man, I know God is disappointed. He mad. Like I done made him angry. And the whole time it was just my own nervous system working through the fashion of how I grew up and everything that I learned that made me think that God was just oh so done with me and oh so mad at me. And it wasn't the truth. It was not the truth. And also, as I got more emotionally aware, I began to see things in a different light, in a different perspective. And I'm like, man, this is not something that I should hold over my head because I made a mistake. Everybody else make mistakes. Why do they get their own free? And I get to be in a doghouse in my mind. I don't want to do this. I don't want to live like this. And so it is important for us to really work through those things. And it's going to get muddy, and it's not easy because when you're used to putting yourself in your own doghouse or making yourself seem like you're worse than you are, it can get it can get heavy, right? Especially even because me, right? I'll be transparent in this moment. There are some decisions that I have made through 2024, right? Not anything super wild crazy, but just like, man, I could have been better in this area. I could have been more honest in this area. I didn't exactly open up about this in the right way. Or, man, like, I messed up here. I'm not a good man. Like, how can I be with all of this? And it's like, even though I already know I am a good man, you get into this mindset of like, I backtrack too much. I made too many mistakes. It's done. It's like the people around me, I know they fed up with me. I know they're mad at me. I don't even usually do that thing, but I did it. And I'm not a fan of that. And I speak about how I'm not a fan of that. And I did it. Yeah, I'm not a good man. I messed up too many times. But we have to realize that a mistake is a mistake. And something that I had to realize, right? I would say that incident that I was just kind of speaking about is like I didn't handle something with a friend so well. And that put me into remembrance of how I was handled in the same position. And it kind of gave me perspective like, man, I was going through a lot mentally and emotionally at this moment. And that's why I handled the situation this way. And then I started to think about how people handled me that same way. And it gave me some more perspective like, man, maybe the one or two or three people that did this, maybe they didn't know what to do. Maybe they didn't know what to say. They were going through their own thoughts or feelings or life, and they were rocked emotionally or mentally. So maybe that's why they just backed off, or they said what they said or did what they did. And it gave me perspective like, wow, a lot of times we see things just from our point of view because we're so focused on ourselves and so selfish, and we don't realize like, man, I never really thought about it like that. Right? And so looking at it that way will give you such good and fresh perspective, right? And so we talked about transparency. We find a lot of strength in transparency because when you're transparent and you're emotionally open, right? you have a chance to get things off of your chest and off of your back. And now you feel like you can breathe. When you give those burdens to God and you with your brothers, people, men that you can trust and men that are trustworthy, you say, man, like this doesn't feel like I'm carrying the world by myself anymore. I don't feel like that. And I'm happy that I have a brother that I can have a conversation with. I'm happy that I can have a brother where I can tell them something that I probably wouldn't have told somebody, but I told them, and wow, like this man really isn't judging me. He's really respecting me, right? It's okay for you to tell another brother, man, I'm tired. I'm hurt. Like I'm messed up right now. Like I'm not in the best place. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. It makes you real. Because the fact of the matter is, no matter how much we don't say something, that doesn't mean that we're not that. To not say that you're weak or to not say that you feel a certain type of way or you're dealing with something, it doesn't mean that, it never happens. Because even when we say, I just got to be strong, I got to be strong, you're being strong at the expense of your mental and emotional health, even sometimes your bodily health. You're stressed out. And so that's why some people die early, or they're too weak, or they start going through it, because you're at a moment when you're weak, but you're trying to seem like you're so strong. But we have to be honest with ourselves. And I know I'm a man. I have been there and I still have to fight myself now. I don't want to seem weak. I don't want to seem like I got all these issues and these problems. But the thing is, as much as another brother seems like he's perfect, he might be going through the same thing, or sometimes it might just be something different, but he's still going through it. But that's why it's important to have people you trust and that will be transparent with you, right? And so that's very important. And so, man, I think one of the greatest things you can do is find somebody that will accept you in your season of your second chance, your moment, or that time where you're trying to rebuild yourself and grow to be a better man. Because that's what we need to do even as good men. We need to reinvent ourselves. We need to grow. And I'm not talking about an overly obsession with self-help, but more always looking at how can I be better? How can I grow? How can I change this thing that needs to be changed or molded? God, help me see ways where I can recreate this area of my life to better suit me as a good man, to better be a representation of your honor and your glory. Right? Reinvent yourself, work on yourself, make some goals. Say, I'm going to start reaching for this. My goal is to stop doing that. And not some so far out of reach goals. Make goals with actionable steps where it's not like everything is changed in a day. Step by step by step, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second, right? And it's a fight, so it's not going to be easy, right? And so another thing is that you still have value at this moment. Don't trick yourself into thinking that because I made bad decisions, because I'm a bad man, I'm now a valueless human being. That's not it, right? And so even though we know that men often take themselves out, not only because of that, like there are other reasons, like people have their own issues and own stress. Like, don't allow yourself to think, I am now a valueless human being who doesn't deserve to be here. It doesn't matter if he's here because his family has turned his back on him, his friends has turned his back on him. Decide, like, man, you know what? I've hurt some people, and they have the right to be mad. They have the right to be upset. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to give up on myself. Because you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to, and you shouldn't, right? I think as men, for our life, money and achieving things makes us feel like that's the only time that I'm valuable or I'm a good man. And that's not true. That is not true, right? Think about a lot of times there are men who are millionaires. They have money. They're billionaires, right? Money is a great and powerful tool. But there are some people who have money their wife or their children don't even want to be around them. They don't want to hang with them. They don't want to call. They don't want to talk because of the character of that person. There's some people that's like, man, I'll do business with you. But it's some people that won't do business with this person because they slick, they sly, they cheat, they get over on you. They don't have good values. And a lot of times we think that a great man is a man who has money, investments, and wealth. That's needed. If that's what you want, go and get it. Not all of us need to be rich, though, because some people just want money just to say they have money and be famous. You don't need that, right? But you are valuable, whether you are achieving goals, whether you are fixing this thing in your life. Don't allow your value to be attached to what you can do or how you can do. And I know we live in a world where oftentimes men are valued for what we do. But this is what I say. When you stop viewing yourself like that and stop living like that, right? Then you will begin to change the narrative. But as long as you live like that, you're only good for your money or good for what you can provide, then that narrative will be around you. Unless you have somebody else around you, like, you know, your wife or your kids or family or brother, who will remind you like, yo, bro, like your value isn't what you give, it's who you are, right? But you have to work on changing that narrative for yourself. I don't allow myself to be defined by money or what I have or anything like that. Sometimes does that reflection come to my mind and do I reflect on that? Yeah, but I have to pull myself from that and say, I'm not a sum total of what I have. I am who I am, and I'm valuable that way, right? So let's keep going. For some of us, we have to redefine what it looks like, right? To be a man that is good. Because a lot of times, oftentimes we think it's just so perfect and we think it's right. You know what's so funny to me? Meeting a couple, and then when you have a conversation with them, the husband is a great man. Wow, he has this job, he has these investments, or he has these things, and he's a great father. And when you sit down and talk to him, and it's not to say this every couple, but I think in this day and age, we've got so obsessed with the end goal and forgot that there's growth involved in the process. And so you might meet with a couple and you sit there and talk to them like, man, you're such a good man. Like, I want to be like you one day. And then the man tells you it ain't been like this always. And his wife said it sure wasn't. And you realize like that man used to have issues between him and his wife, him and his kids, but he had to grow. He had an issue finding a good job, but he had to eventually find a good job. This is why we say it's a journey. You have to respect the journey. You have to love the journey. And there's going to be some parts of the journey you're not going to want to love. I wouldn't love it either. And at times it's hard to even think about loving it. But think about the journey. Because if you think that the definition of a good man is just, and we're going to talk about that in episode 2, right? But if you think the definition of a good man is a man who has money all the time, who can pay this and get this done and stuff, and everything that you can do, kind of like what I was just saying, then you have to now reframe your mind. Reframe your mind. Because it's not about being perfect. It's more about being a real, genuine human being that can be honest, that has good character, and that can be that good man. Because at the end of the day, when you hear people talk about people at funerals, let's think about a man. All right, it was good. A person always lends you money. But one of the most potent things that always stands out is when they talk about the person's character. They talk about who the man is, what the man has done, who he is for the families. And it's a plus if he's a giver. He gave himself in a way of helping and building, but also resources, right? I think a lot of times when people, we have to stop wanting to be victims and misunderstanding people. Because when men talk about finding value in character, oftentimes men get rowdy and say, but you need money too. But nobody never said you didn't need money. We were trying to get you to understand that you are not what you have and what you do. But again, that's why we can be stuck in that mindset of a man is only good for what he has and what he does, because you allow yourself to be in that box, but you have to come out of that box, right? And so, major changes can happen in your life, and a second chance is readily available right in front of you, even when you feel like it's not possible. There will be people around you. There will be things that try to remind you that you aren't a good man. You can't do this, but you can do this. And I'm going to sit here and remind you right now, you can do this, especially with the help of God. You can do this. You can do it. You can do it. It's possible. It's more than possible, especially with God, because God is a God of redemption. He wants to redeem you. He wants to put you in a position. That's a good thing about God. God is ready to make nothing out of something. How did you get here, God? That's what God does. He makes nothing out of something. He turns chaos into beauty. And so it's important that you know, man, that you are a good man. And if you're not a good man right now, you can become a good man. Don't have these obscene thoughts of maybe I need to just move to another city. I think that's a good thought. But oftentimes the issue is that we think that if we go to another city or another state, that my life is just going to change. There's a quote that wherever you are, there you are. And one thing I always say is that you can change locations, but if you have the same mindset and the same issues, life won't become more different until you deal with that. Because if you have anger issues and you live in New York, but you move to Switzerland, how different will your life be once you create a life over there? You'll still get the results of an angry man. It's the same thing. So it's important to really do the self-work, work on yourself, and deal with what you need to deal with, right? And so ending this off, 2 thoughts I want you to remember. You don't need to do everything now. Everything, the full transformation doesn't have to happen today. You just need to keep going. Can you keep going? What did my brother say? Can you give me one more day? I just need one more day. I just need another moment. I just need another second. I just need another minute. Can you give me another day, another season? Can you give me another moment? Can you hold on just a little bit longer until you get your feeding right? You don't need to do everything today. You just need to keep going. So keep going. And I've said this in one of my previous videos. The world needs the version of you that's healed, that has forgiven himself. But this is most important, that keeps showing up. Just keep showing up. That's one of the most important things. Keep showing up. Consistency is very important. Like here, even doing this podcast right now, I'm showing up. If I can be honest with you, if you look through my social media history, there are things that I've started and stopped and started and stopped. Not a whole lot of things, but I've realized it's not about everything popping off or everything seeming so perfect. It's about showing up. There's going to be growth here. This is what, episode 5, I believe. And by the time episode 20 comes, 30, 40, 50, 70, there'll be growth that will not only happen in me, it will happen in a podcast in my life, but there will also, if you keep showing up here, there will also be growth that happens for you. But you have to keep showing up. Keep fighting and keep showing up. And so, I want you to be reminded that if no one has told you this in a long time, I want to tell you, you are a good man. You are not invaluable. You are a valuable, good man. Work through your shortcomings. Work through those challenges. Work through being a bad man at the moment and working to get some good things done in your life and having some goals and being better and making better decisions and choices for you or your family. But be reminded, you are a good man. I can say it over and over again. You are a good man, and there is a second chance for you. Not just because I am saying it, but because the Lord says so. This is your host, Michael Jenkins, episode 5. See you guys on the next episode. Peace.